What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. I'm Doug, and I'm going to be here to help guide you through today's episode, Star Wars Theory-Palooza.
From Ahsoka to the Book of Boba Fett, we have some theories to share with you. I am Keith, and I will also help guide you through our silly ideas.
And I am Dave. Please like and subscribe and do the rest of that YouTube bantha fodder. But now, on to the theories.
Here we go.
We're going to kick off this Theory-Palooza with a little thing that we think, or I think, I don't know if these guys think it, on the Book of Boba Fett. As soon as he arrived on Tatooine and took over the crime syndicate from Bib Fortuna, the first thing I thought is he's going to need some capital. And where is he going to get this capital from? I seem to remember a Krat Dragon Pearl that was gotten by the Tusken Raiders early in, Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian. I think he is going to take that and use that to start funding his criminal organization.
It could be that, or it could be that he's also been carrying on as a bounty hunter using his Tusken Raider gear. We saw what a badass fighter he was. So yeah, I'm sure he's probably got a little bit of capital. Either that, or there's just enough left over in Jabba the Hutt's palace that he was able to make use of. The fact that Bib Fortuna was there living what looked like the lap of luxury, I guess if you could call it that, considering he had put on quite a bit substantial amount of weight. I'm assuming there must have been something that kept him up and running.
Yep, and Bib Fortuna looks like he was trying to make himself into a hut. Ha ha ha. All right, and now that he's in charge of the criminal syndicate on Tatooine, will they have flashbacks to show how he got out of the Sarlacc? That could be part of the story. Or they could just skip it all and just move forward with him and Fennec, because Fennec's on the show. It's not going to be purely flashback, but I'd be interested to see if they're going to explain that Sarlacc story at all. But it's going to be a limited series, so it won't be as many episodes as we're used to. So they got a little story to tell. Let them tell it.
They don't even need to bother showing it, Dave. We already know. All of our viewers already know. Boba Fett was pooped out the other side of Tatooine. That is canon. We've established that. Let's move on.
You're right. I'm sorry.
And one more for the Book of Boba Fett. Do you think that Boba Fett is going to go after Cobb Vanth for having his armor for all that time? I do think he is going to pay a little visit to that small town and let him know that, hey, he didn't appreciate him, or he did appreciate him saving his armor. I don't know yet, but something's going to happen. We're going to see Cobb Vanth again in the Book of Boba Fett since he is on Tatooine.
The second series we'll talk about is The Mandalorian, of course. Season 3 is supposed to start next December. It's unclear with mission of the first 2 seasons being completed, and there's no lingering, I should say there are lingering issues. The tension between Bo-Katan and the Mando himself. Moff Gideon is captured but not dead. Will he factor into that show? I don't know, but I think it'll focus on Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian and how that's going to work out and who's going to run Mandalore.
Yeah, it is kind of curious where the direction of season 3 is going to go for the Mandalorian. I have a feeling that you're right, Dave. I think it's going to focus pretty heavily on some sort of confrontation between Din Djarin and between the other Mandalorians. I think there might end up being a couple of factions and end up splitting between the two. It could be that Moff Gideon does remain the big bad. Maybe he gets away in some way. But I am curious at what point Grogu and or Luke Skywalker is going to make another appearance in the series. I have a feeling that this is just my thought. I don't know where you guys lie on this, but I have a feeling that they kind of want to test the waters and see whether the series can carry itself without a reliance on Grogu. I think they're probably curious to see if fans will appreciate going several episodes in a row with it just focusing heavily on Din Djarin and company rather than there being such a heavy focus on Grogu. I know that he's kind of the Mandalorian cash cow at the moment, but I think more can be done. And I believe Dave Filoni and crew have proven that they've got the capability to write some amazing stories. So I think, yeah, I'm kind of in line with Dave. I think it's going to be pretty heavily focused on this sort of confrontation between Bo-Katan, maybe the people that back her up, and Din Djarin, because they've already established that she's not going to accept the darksaber again. She needs to fight for it. She needs to actually earn it. And I don't know if that means that she's going to eventually face off against Din Djarin for it, since he attempted to give it to her. I don't know if he's suddenly going to get a change of heart and feel like he could rule Mandalore. I don't really know where it's going to go. I just have a feeling that that's going to be the primary focus. Now that he's completed his goal, his mission was to get Grogu to a Jedi, and they've kind of left it a bit of an open book as far as where it could go next.
And I do have a little theory about why Bo would not take the darksaber from Din when she was so willing to take it from Sabine back in Rebels. And I think it all is going to come down. We're going to get this backstory filled in The Mandalorian Season 3, is that the Mandalorians would not get behind Bo-Katan because of the way she got the darksaber. And I think Moff Gideon knew this, being an ISB agent and always having a lot of intel and knowing all the things. And he knew that if Din Djarin beat him in combat and got it, she would have to beat Din. And then we're going to find out the whole backstory of why she wasn't able to unite Mandalore after she got the darksaber from Sabine Wren.
Yeah, I would really love that backstory filled in. I'd love to know where that all went, what happened after she received the darksaber. We kind of speculated in some previous Theory-Palooza videos. We assumed that something must have happened with Moff Gideon. We assumed that at some point he must have made his way to Mandalore, probably during the Night of 1,000 Tears. Maybe what happened, whether Moff Gideon, whether he was still an ISB agent at this time or whether he had risen in the ranks, how he came about getting his hands on the darksaber. I'm starting to wonder if I was wrong at first. My original theory was that him being more of a sort of technologically advanced individual using the abilities of the Empire, I kind of assumed that he hadn't fought fairly for the darksaber. I guess I kind of figured that he probably didn't treat the battle honorably the same way, of all people, that Darth Maul did, where he actually fought lightsaber to lightsaber. He didn't use any of his force powers, really. He fought honorably for being a Sith, and I couldn't imagine Moff Gideon doing that, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe I was wrong about that. And maybe he did actually fight her for it and have her lose it, because the fact that she was willfully given it at first and then possibly lost it in an official battle, yeah, I could definitely see why it was so important to her to fight Moff Gideon to get it back, and why he said what he did say. Keith is absolutely spot on with what he said. He knows exactly what she has to do in order to properly get it back. He expresses as much, and he tells all of the information that he already knows about Mandalorian history.
And now Ahsoka, we do know that she is going after Grand Admiral Thrawn and what happened at the end of Rebels with Thrawn and Ezra Bridger getting taken by those space whales, those hyperspace space whales. And we do know that The Mandalorian is set 5 years after Return of the Jedi. And just so you know, that was also the timeline for Heir to the Empire, which was the wonderful Thrawn novels that Timothy Zahn wrote back in the 90s. That really brought me back into Star Wars. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I do think we are going to get some plot details from the books into The Mandalorian. Now, it's going to be a little different. We're not going to see Luke. We're not going to see Leia. We're not going to see Han and all the things that they did in the book. But we're going to see Ahsoka handling some of that. But the big reveal is going to be that Ezra is going to be that sort of crazy Jedi, taking the role of Joruus C'baoth. He was the mad Jedi clone. And I think we are finally going to meet the Hand of the Emperor, Mara Jade, in canon. And I personally cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, and this is a show. It's the showrunners are Filoni and Favreau. So, they didn't pass it off to anybody, because this is, like Filoni's character. So he's going to handle it perfectly. I'm sure it's going to be great. And I'm going to guess, along with Keith, that this is going to heavily involve Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I think it'll interweave between the two show. Any of the Mandalorian shows will probably have some crossover. That's my guess and hope, actually. There's some characters I would like to see in this show, like Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, Hera, Luke Skywalker even, and Grogu. I'd like to see them all in the show. And I think that all those characters would fit in a storyline somewhere. So Who knows?
And I do think all of these shows, Kathleen Kennedy did say that they're going to have this big event that comes up that kind of intersects all these shows and brings them all together. And I do think that is going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I do think they're all going to have to team up to try to stop him. Only I think his big plan isn't to take back the universe. I think he's working under the Emperor. He was an Exegol. He's coming back now with the plan to, hey, create the First Order, get them just sowing chaos throughout the galaxy, maybe even give them the plans for a Star Killer base. I don't know, just enough to keep their plans on Exegol quiet so the Emperor can come back for Rise of the Skywalker. And I do think Thrawn will still be around post Rise of the Skywalker, and I do think he'll come back to possibly be the big bad post Rise of Skywalker in a movie trilogy. And I do think it's going to bring back some other familiar characters, and we'll talk about more about that in a minute.
I really think that we're going to see some sort of like precursor to the First Order. We'll see kind of how it rose. We'll see where it came from, maybe what formed it. I really think that it was probably a remnant, an Imperial remnant that maybe just felt that things weren't being taken too far. If you guys remember, which, I'm sure all of our fellow nerds do, the Force Awakens, we see the First Order and we see that they're definitely a bunch of extremists, definitely Nazis, but we know that they are fully aware of the Force. We know that they know how powerful Snoke is. We know that they encounter Kylo Ren on a daily basis whenever he throws his tantrums. So it seems like they have taken that next step from the Empire, and they're not just like a governing power. They're a full-on, we want full, Empire and Sith rule in the galaxy or something. So it's almost like these were the people maybe handpicked by the Emperor Palpatine or by Thrawn or by somebody, knowing full well that they would be able to sort of prepare the galaxy for the final order or for the Emperor to come back again.
And finally, we do know that there are 19 years between The Mandalorian, when Luke takes Grogu to go train him, and when Kylo Ren destroys the fledgling new Jedi Order. And a lot can happen in that time. So I do think that Luke is going to be successful in training Grogu, just so Grogu can come back post Rise of Skywalker, and that there will be a Jedi that Luke has trained. He's going to be a Jedi Master by this point, and it'll be, a success story for Luke, because I know a lot of people were really upset that kind of Luke failed and he went into hiding. So this is going to be that success story in a character that's going to be huge in Star Wars and have a lasting impact. And I do think when he meets Rey Skywalker, he may say, I was trained under Master Skywalker. I know many Skywalkers, and you, Rey, are no Skywalker.
And I'd love to see a fully powered up Force Grogu holding 3 lightsabers, 2 in his hand, 1 hovering above his head, all different colors, just to prove that he can use kyber crystals in a bunch of different ways and really show off to Rey. I think that'd be funny. I mean, I don't think that's actually going to happen. I don't know if we're ever actually going to see Rey appear in the Star Wars universe again, but yeah, I do want to eventually see a full-on superpowered Force Grogu with, amazing abilities, just kind of hovering around and doing awesome, Jedi stuff, and actually being the gray Jedi that we wanted Rey to be.
And remember, his lightsaber, or one of the 3 of them that you mentioned, has to have that little ball from the Razor Crest on it. It has to.
But those are our theories about what is going to be coming up in what we're kind of dubbing the Filoni-Verse. We want to know what you guys think. What are your theories? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned for more videos from Not Your Status Quo. Thanks for watching.